So good morning to you all. I hope you're all well. I just want to say thank you to Nexus and the team for giving me the opportunity to share some insightful experiences and tips when recruiting. I'm Tracy Bowler, the founder of Keen Consultancies. We specialise in roles that you're struggling to fill using deep dive searches and headhunting. We also specialise in specialist roles and also exec level roles as well. I have over 20 years experience within HR and recruitment, and I focus on headhunting, internal recruitment, direct recruitment and volume recruitment. My passion is recruiting talented people to see their businesses flourish. So before I begin, I'm a member of REC, which stands for Recruitment Employment Confederation. And it's really good to be part of them because they give you some really good, insightful information. So I just want to share with you before I begin on how much it would cost you for a bad hire. So just before I begin on that, I'll just take you to can I go to the next slide, Emma? Oh, fab. Right, okay. So to begin with, at the bottom here, there's so 80% of HR decision makers admit they make a bad hire, which is quite scary, really, in business. 20% of HR decisions don't know how much a bad hire costs. Again, that's quite scary because you need to know what your business looks like. 40% of new hires turn out to be bad hires within the first 18 months. This is because it could be because the onboarding isn't right. And 88% of business leaders have allowed toxic workers to stay in the business. And again, that's no good for business because of the impact it has. So a poor hire at mid-management level with a salary of £42,000 could end up costing your business £132,000, which is quite a lot of money, really. So if you think about it, if you was to employ 4 senior level people, that would cost your business over $500,000. Can you afford to get that wrong? So that is something to think about. The factors to consider is, are you spending enough time reviewing your company needs? And when I say that, which is something that Gemma mentioned as well, is actually spending the time to really understand what it is you're looking for when it comes to recruiting. Is it a new role? Are you replacing someone? If you are, why is that? Do you actually need to replace someone, or could you incorporate the role with another role? So it's understanding that side of it. The other thing as well is misleading job profiles. I mean, I speak to candidates and, I must admit, I've spoken to quite a few over the number of years. But one of the questions I ask them, why are you leaving? And they say, well, actually, the job profile doesn't match the ongoing job that I'm doing. It's been misleading. They haven't kept their promise. And that's why they end up leaving. So the job profile is quite crucial to the actual job. Focusing on competencies instead of potentials. Well, I think there's a fine line here because, you do need to focus on the competencies when employing someone. And also, to really sort of understand that person, what they're capable of doing and producing. But also as well, in terms of the potential, it could be that, that they've got a great attitude. It could be that they're quite open to diversity in that role. So it's looking at that side of it as well, and especially as we've gone through a pandemic, because, we've got like the hospitality industry is flat on its face sort of thing. And people, they're looking for work, but their skill set may be transferable as well. So it's looking at that side of it really to see if they have got transferable skills, especially if they're a senior management person, in operations, for instance, they may have leadership skills that could be adapted to move over to another kind of industry sector. So that's something to think about. Emma, next slide. Okay, so I'll just take you through to the introductory side then. What do you think a full recruitment cycle looks like, and how important is the onboarding process and why? So what do you think a full recruitment cycle looks like? Can anyone share that with me? No? Okay. Emma, anyone sharing that? Emma, do you want to take me through to the next slide? Oh, right, yeah. So before I do that, I just want to share another couple of facts with you. Small business owners spend 40% of their working time on hiring. So in other words, you know, they should be spending their time on the business instead of like in the business. So that's something to consider. On average, it takes between 27.5 to 40 business days to recruit someone. So again, there's a lot of time involved with that. So it's crucial to make sure you get the right person on board first time if possible. And on average, it costs per hire 1,081 direct if you was to do it directly. And that obviously takes a lot of time to consider as well, or £4,000 using a recruiter. So, which again, if you then have to replace that someone, the stakes get even higher. So these are some of the areas to consider really. So what does the recruitment cycle look like, Emma? So normally, if I had this slide, I would have taken you through each one of these. However, it's all come out as one, so I apologise for that. So first of all, we need to determine the staff and business needs. So obviously looking at your business plans, what it is you actually need. So you may do this once a year, it may be 6 months, it depends on the business needs really, is to consider that. Then next up is to plan. And when I mean plan, is to plan, i.e., you know, what the, where you're going to advertise, what your pre-screening questions are going to look like, who's going to be conducting the interviews, what does that consist of, that sort of thing. That's what I mean at planning stage. Job descriptions. Again, I've spoken to, obviously I speak to clients on a regular basis. And if I say to a client, you know, I need a job description, they say, well, I haven't got one. Well, how am I supposed to understand what that business looks like and what they're looking to recruit for? So job descriptions are really crucial, especially for the person who's going to be in post. A job description should also include some person-specific specifications so that it goes hand in hand with your company values, so that you are bringing the person on, you know, understanding their behaviours, what kind of a person you're looking for is crucial to that job too. So when it comes to promoting the vacancy, you know, where are you going to promote it to? You know, what job boards are you going to use? Are you going to use LinkedIn? You know, proper job boards like Total Jobs, CV Library, job site, or are you going to use Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or wherever? It depends on where you're going to look. But the most important thing of this when advertising a role is it's got to be about the person, what you're actually looking for. That's the main target area. Yeah, you need to discuss your company. However, that's not the most important thing right now. The most important thing is making sure that the right person is actually applying for the role in hand. And then once they've done that, they will then carry out research about your company anyway, if they really want to work for your business. And then sourcing candidates. So this is the bit which I absolutely love. This is where you use various social media platforms to source candidates. The best one, obviously, is LinkedIn. If anyone uses LinkedIn, it's a great source of finding candidates. For instance, I'm currently working with a company at the moment, and they're looking for contracts delivery managers. And the main area for them is PFI. They need to understand PFI. So when I'm sourcing candidates, one of the keywords that I use would be PFI, and then I look at their skill set within the LinkedIn profile to find out if they do have that. If they do, then I'm able to do some more in-depth searches around their profile. So that's something to think about. Also as well, looking at Twitter. Twitter's really good for doing stuff like that if you're into Twitter, and also Instagram, Facebook. It depends on the level of the role, what you're trying to recruit for. When it comes to shortlisting candidates, obviously you're looking at your desirables and your essentials. What's important to you when shortlisting the candidate? Is there any gaps in the CV? Is there specific qualifications you're looking for? Is there specific skill set? How many people are you looking to shortlist? This is all really important for this process. So then when it gets to the pre-screening the candidates, as mentioned before, at the planning stage, is to identify perhaps the 3 key questions that are crucial when pre-screening a candidate. So for instance, so this will help to obviously so that it's not so time consuming, so that you're getting straight to the point with the candidate. Also, this is a great time now to interview candidates through Zoom, Teams, WhatsApp, FaceTime, to really sort of get to know what the candidate is like as well. So, and also when you're pre-screening the candidates, you're obviously going through their CV, gaps, what's happening, you know, not sort of judging someone straight away, which I find that it's very easy just to sort of see a CV, judge them, and that's it. A lot of candidates do actually find it difficult to sell themselves on a CV. Conducting interviews. This depends, again, at the planning stage. Is it going to be a 1 interview? Is it going to be a 2 interview? The first interview should incorporate a CV, going through the person's CV, competence-based questions. If they're a graduate, do you use the STAR method? All that sort of thing. And then if you're decided that you're going to do a second interview, what does that look like? Are you going to get them to do a presentation, or are you going to get them to do an assessment, role play? It's really sort of identifying what all of it looks like. And the other thing to remember is to use a scoring system. And the reason for that is because a candidate could quite easily come back and say, especially if you've rejected them, and say, well, you know, I'd like to know why you've rejected me. So it's really good to have some notes and a scoring system to do that as well. The job offer, once you get to job offer, this is a verbal legal agreement. So at job offer stage, when you're going through the salary, the benefits, start date, who they're reporting to, all that sort of thing. And at the same time, this will be the time when negotiations start if they're not happy with the salary that they've been offered. So it's to go through all of that. And also, once they're happy with that, is to then explain to them that, you know, a contract of employment will be sent to them with further details. In terms of the candidates that have been rejected, again, it's crucial to speak to the candidates that have been rejected to give them some constructive feedback. I know this can be very difficult because obviously, you know, of certain words, how you say it to them. But if you give constructive feedback, a lot of candidates are quite happy for this to happen, because obviously that's the only way they're going to learn from it, by giving them that feedback. References, these are either obtained before a job offer, and that's mainly within senior leadership, senior level roles, And then obviously you've got your references afterwards as well, which I know that some companies don't give references because, well, request for references, I should say, because they probably might have a 3-month probationary period or a 6-month probationary period, and quite happy with that. It depends on the actual role that they're going for. Obviously, if you're, going to work in a prison or something like that, then yeah, you would need references and DBS checks and things like that. And then part of the hiring and onboarding process. So the hiring process is so that as soon as you know when that person's starting, that they have everything in place for that person. Obviously their technology, what's expected of them, an induction program that needs to be, that is so important to have an induction program on straight away, and also the what's expected of them on their first day, and also what would be expected of them for the first year if possible, which would lead me into the onboarding process. So what do you think the onboarding process, why do you think the onboarding process is important? Emma, just need the next slide. It's going to all come over, yeah. So how important is the onboarding process and why? Well, a key fact is 36% of leavers would leave in the first month if the onboarding process is poor. So looking after your employees for the first 12 months of joining is crucial, adding value to your business in the long run. And when I talk about that, we're looking at sustainability, because obviously it will save your company money on recruitment costs and time. Also for the person to feel valued. A person that always feels appreciated will always do more than what is expected. And what I mean by that is, a job well done, making them feel valued right from the start is so important to that person. And, just the little things of saying, well done, please, thank you, all that sort of stuff actually does make a big difference. And then also as well, their personal action plan as well, training and development, thinking about the person, what training and further development you can give that person. There are plenty of pockets out there of funding where you can look into to help them, especially if you're an SME business, that may be able to help with that, to keep the person interested. As part, I just want to share with you that a key achievement for me was in 2018. I actually I joined SIG on a 6-week contract, and I ended up staying with them for 18 months with the company. And during that period, I recruited across the board right up to director level. And they were going through a transformation piece. Also, as part of that, I ended up saving the company about $470,000 on recruitment costs. But ultimately, the main thing for me was finding talented people to join the company. SIG are going through another transformation piece, but I am pleased to say that there are a lot of people that are still with the company as we speak, who I recruited into that business. And I think the reason being was, the fact is, for those, those first 18 months, 12 months of me recruiting, I kept in contact with those candidates for the whole of the 12 months, whether that would be for the first month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So that is something to consider when recruiting people. Ultimately you want them to stay with you to save on your recruitment costs. So Emma, just on my next slide. So I hope the tips I've given are useful. Obviously I can share with you some, vacancy, how to advertise a vacancy well. Also as well, some tips on interviewing, using assessment pages, sort of forms, all that sort of stuff, scoring systems. If there's anything that I can help with, then feel free to obviously get in contact with me. Thank you for your time. Hope that helps.
Perfect. Thank you, Tracy. That was really informative. Jason has popped in the comments there saying that I think that first slide that you shared about how much people can lose, how much businesses can lose in hiring the wrong talent was really impressive. And he's also said that he thinks the owner of startups need to spend more than 50% of their time on finding talent. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. They will. Yeah, I mean, if it's an SME business, absolutely. I mean, which it doesn't help. So like, for instance, I'm working with an SME business at the moment. There's 5 of them at the moment, and we're looking to recruit another 2 people. And the 2 directors, they are spending quite a lot of time, over 50% of, of making sure it's right. And the reason being is because they are an SME, they've got to make sure that it is right, because obviously it's costing the company a lot of money to be able to do that. So yeah, in terms of, an SME, yes, you would be spending that length of time. But ultimately, as you move progressively along, then you then need to start working on your business more so than in your business. But sometimes money holds you back, time holds you back. So you have to look at all of those factors, definitely.
Titus has asked, how do you handle candidates with the wrong skill set applying to a position? Does it indicate something wrong with the job description, or is it a normal occurrence?
So when I speak to candidates, that's why it's really important to get the job description. And what happens is, when I speak to the candidates, I share the job description with them. I then say to them, right, can you tell me what key skills you've got that matches that job description? If they, and then I'm looking for, the key areas as well. And if they're not coming back with those key areas, then they're not right for the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's how I deal with it. So, but it's making sure that the job description matches them and their skill set. And then obviously you've then got the person specification. So for instance, a company's values is all around being bold and agile, then I'll be looking for some competencies around being bold and agile. Or, if they've got leadership as well, what sort of leadership skills, what is their leadership style? I mean, Gemma mentioned about being micromanaged. There are companies out there that still quite controlling, which I don't agree with either. I don't think it's good to micromanage people. I believe in empowerment. I think it's good for companies to think like that as well, because you get the best out of people by empowering people. Obviously, they have to understand that there are, certain criteria within the organisation, what they have to abide by, policies, procedures, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, that's how you get the best out of people.